Fine. So in the last class we discussed about the SQL Server installation. Once you install the SQL Server, how many services you will get it, how many folders you will get it, what kind of folders, what kind of services, how to install it, how to identify the default instance and named instance, okay, and how to install SQL Server 2019, right, and how to connect, how to install SSMS, how to connect to the SQL Server in the Management Studio, right? So what are all the ways we can use to connect to the SQL Server, right? So all these things we discussed in the last class, right? So now what we are going to do, we'll start writing small queries, okay? So don't worry, I told you in the beginning of our course, coding and all won't be there as a Sql DBA, okay? So but you should know some of the things, very small coding. So, it's not a coding, actually. Query means a single line, okay. What I can say, it's a kind of a command, a single line command. Very small commands will be there, hardly 5 to 10 commands you have to remember, hardly 5 to 10 commands. It's good that if you are interested in T-SQL programming and all, it's good, especially it will help you in the performance tuning, okay, to tune the queries and all, it will help you. Generally no one will give you development related work for DBS. There are separate teams for developers, separate team for DBS, okay. So DBS generally they don't involve in the development activities, they don't write any logic, any coding and all. But as per our requirements, in case, it's good to have knowledge on T-SQL, so that in case if some of the tasks need any development knowledge, it will help you. But again, it's not mandatory. Very small queries will be there, like how to create a table, how to insert some values in the table, how to filter the rows, how to filter the columns, okay. So we'll discuss now. So let's start the machine. Right. Okay, so let me start this VM. Right. So in the meantime, what we can do, let's discuss about the small database architecture, okay. Fine. So now we are going to create tables, right? Now we are going to create the tables, okay. So where we can create the tables, if I want to create tables, first of all I should have 1 minute, 1 minute, who is that? Let me check. Ravikiran, any questions?
Nothing.
Okay, yeah, fine, okay. So let's create the table. So if I want to create tables, first of all you should know the hierarchy, okay. Where we can create the tables, first of all we should know the hierarchy, okay. So then we can easily create the tables and all. So we have two types of hierarchies. One is physical hierarchy, second one is logical hierarchy. Means where these tables will store exactly what is the physical structure and what is the logical structure. Where these tables, when I am creating a table, where this table will be stored physically, where this table will be stored logically, will be discussed, guys, okay. So if I want to create a table, first of all I should have database, guys. If I want to create any table, I should have database. Without database I cannot create a table, okay. Why? Because generally, why we are creating databases, why? Because in RDBMS The tables, the objects will be stored in databases only. So if I want to create a table, first of all, I should have database. If I want to create a database, I should have what I should have, guys? SQL Server. In SQL Server, databases will be there. In the databases, tables will be there. Okay, listen carefully. In the SQL Server, databases will be there. In the databases, tables will be there, right? So here, what is the physical hierarchy? Okay, what is the physical hierarchy? Listen carefully. When you create a database in the SQL Server, database is actually collection of two files. Database is actually collection of two files. One is data file, second one is log file. These two are mandatory. If you want to create any database, you have to create two files. Okay, these two files are mandatory. I'll tell you what data file will do, what log file will do. We have a separate discussion on the database. Of course, I guess in this class itself I'll cover. Okay, so if you want to create any database, while creating the database, you have to specify one data file, you have to specify one log file. Once you created the database, then you can create the tables. So let's go little bit deep inside the database. In databases generally, okay, in databases, file groups will be there. In databases, file groups will be there, and log files will be there. Log files in databases, file groups and log files will be there. In file groups, we will have data files. Okay, in file groups, we will have data files. Data files, two types of data files are there. One is MDF file, which is master data file. Second one is NDF file, which is new data file or next data file. Next or new data file. Okay. So in your file groups, data files will be there and log files also will be there. If you go inside the data files, you will have extents. If you go inside the database, data files, you will have extents. If you go inside the extents, you will have pages. Page is a basic storage unit in the database. Page is a basic storage unit in the database. When you are creating a table, physically the tables will be created on pages, guys. Okay, physically, that listen carefully, very important, guys. They don't ask you, these are internals of SQL Server. It's better to know how the things will work. Okay, so when I'm creating a database, when you create a database, in the database we will have file groups and log files. Okay, in the database we will have file groups and the log files. If you go inside the file groups, you will have data files. If you go inside the file groups, you will have data files. If you go inside the data files, you will have extents. You will have extents. And if you go inside the extents, you will have pages. So when you are creating any table, at the end of the day, the table will be created on a single page, guys. Can anyone tell me what is the page size?
8 KB, sir.
8 KB. Okay, 8 KB. So each page size is 8 KB. 8 KB, 8 KB, 8 KB pages will be created, guys. 8 KB. So when you create a small table also, just you are creating a small table, student table. Imagine you are creating a student table with a single column. Student, just a single column, student ID. Small table, very small table. But SQL Server will allocate complete 8 KB page to a single table. Listen carefully. Pages cannot be shareable. Page cannot be shareable between the object. Object means anything, guys. Object means a table. Object means a stored procedure. Object means anything. Page cannot be shareable between objects. Okay. For example, if your table is there, the table will use 8 KB page. Even though the table is small, still it will use that 8 KB page. If the table is big, how it will manage, guys? SQL Server will allocate one more 8 KB page. If the table is keep on increasing, SQL Server will allocate one more 8 KB page. SQL Server keep allocating one more 8 KB page. Like that it will keep allocating. If the table is increasing, if you are inserting lot of values in the table, it will allocate one page, 8 KB, 8 KB, 8 KB, 8 KB. Keep on allocating the pages, guys. Is it clear, everyone? What is meant by page? Page is a basic storage unit.
Values means data, na?
Yes, values means data.
Okay.
Yeah, if you are inserting some values means you are inserting some data inside the table. Once you create a table, what you will do, you will insert some data, right? So when you are inserting data, 8 KB page is not sufficient, right? Imagine I have one table now, around it's around 100 records. Later you can add 1000 records, right? So those 1000 records you cannot accommodate on a single page, right? So once this 8 KB page is full, SQL Server will allocate another 8 KB page. Once this is full, SQL Server will allocate another 8 KB page. Once this is also full, SQL Server will keep on allocating 8 KB, 8 KB, 8 KB. So in that way, it is going to consume the space, guys. Is it clear? What is space? Space is a basic
Basic
It's a unit of database.
basic storage unit. Page is a basic storage unit. So whenever you are creating any table, where it is creating, guys, physically, where your table is creating physically,
in page, sir.
on a page. Okay, whenever you are creating any tables, the tables will be created on a page. Page is not shareable, sir. You are creating very small table, sir, but still in the 8 KB page we have a lot of free spaces there. Can I use the free space to create another table on the same page, or can I create any table on a specific page? No, you don't have control. Okay, user don't have control, okay, to allocate any specific pages and all. Automatically SQL Server will do that. But as discussed, page is not shareable. If the table is small now, at this moment the table might be small, in future it might increase, right? So one table means one page. If the page is not sufficient, SQL Server will keep adding the extra pages to that particular table. Is it clear, everyone?
Again, one second, repeat this one.
Very simple. When you are creating any table, the tables will be created on a page. Page is nothing but it's a basic storage unit in the data files. Okay, page is a basic storage unit in the data files. Whenever now I'll show you how to create a database and all. So these things and all I cannot show you, but you should know. Why? Because these are internals. Okay, you have to know how the SQL Server architecture, how the database architecture will work and all. You have to know these things. But I'll simply create one database, I'll create one table, but you don't know, right, where exactly this table is sitting in the database. In the database, this table is sitting on a page. Simple. When you are creating any table, SQL Server will allocate, hey user, take this page. SQL Server will allocate one page to the table. So the table will be created on that particular page. If the table is not sufficient, then SQL Server will allocate one more page. In that way, it will keep increasing. It will use the free space in the drive. So now from where we are getting this 8 KB, 8 KB, 8 KB? In which location you are storing your data files? In which location, in which drive you are storing your data files? If you are storing your data files in C drive, SQL Server will take 8 KB free space from the C drive and it will allocate to database. Like that, it will keep allocating the existing free space from the drive to the database. At one point, the drive will be full, right? Why? Because your table is increasing. You just took all the free space from the drive. At one point, your drive will be full, right? Clear, guys? If the file size is increasing, automatically it is going to eat the drive space, right? So that is how it is going to organize the things. I'll show you now. You will get a clarity. I cannot show you pages and all while creating database. Okay, you can see how the things will work. Okay, so let me connect to the server remotely. Not sure this server is too slow today.
I have one question.
Yes, please.
Every data will be in the format of database format, tables format.
everything, whatever you are storing. Very good question, Ravi. Whatever you are storing, even system related data also will be stored in the form of tables only. SQL Server don't know other format. System related data, metadata, will call it as a metadata. Even metadata also will be stored in the form of tables only. The only one format SQL Server knows is a table format. Everything will be stored in the form of tables only.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to connect to SQL Server. Now I'll try to create one database, guys. I'll show you the files and all. Okay, so what is the use of those files? I'll explain. Don't worry. What is the use of data file? Now you came to know, right? Data file means, so generally we have two files, right? One is data file, second one is log file. When you are creating a database, by default you will get these two files. So is it possible to create a database with a single file, either data file or log file? Not possible, not at all possible. These two files should be there. So at this moment you cannot understand, guys, roll back, roll forward, why we have this mechanism, why we have these two files. But I'll tell you in simple words why we have two files. So in two files, one is data file, second one is log file, guys. One is data file, second one is log file. I'll give you a simple example. Okay, log file is kind of a RAM, data file is kind of a ROM, guys. Log file is a kind of a RAM. I'm not saying it's a RAM. Log file is a kind of a RAM. What RAM will do? It will store the results temporarily, right? That's what we discussed, right? Until the processing is going to be completed, it will store the results temporarily. Okay. So in the same way, we have two files. When you are creating a database, two files will be created. One is log file. Second one is data file. Why we have log file means, log file will store the data temporarily. Log file will store the data temporarily. Say for example, now you are going to insert 100 GB data. Imagine you are inserting 100 GB data. So how much time it will take to write 100 GB data? Generally I am asking. For example, if you are copying 100 GB file from one drive to another drive itself, it will take 30 minutes time, right? 100 GB file. Generally you are copying some movies from one drive to another drive. How much time it will take? It will take some time, right? Yes, sometimes it will take hours also. Depends upon your server speed and all. It will take hours also. So imagine if you are inserting 100 GB data in the database, it cannot write in fraction of seconds, right? It will take some time, right? 30 minutes, 20 minutes or 1 hour it will take, right? In this 1 hour, imagine after inserting some records, imagine someone restarted the server suddenly, or something happened to the server, it was down, server was crashed. What about your data? What will happen to your data, guys?
It will be in log file, sir.
So log file, until I told you, right, log file and data file, we have two files, log file and data file. Log file is a temporary storage area until the data is moved to data file. Data file means it's a ROM, storage. Once the data is written to the disk, no problem. Even though the system is crashed, if the disk is safe, no issues, you can recover the data. Even if someone restarted the server, as the data is permanently moved to the data file, your data is safe. As a DBA, our main goal should be data should be safe. Your data should be safe, guys. Your data should, whatever happened to the database or server, at the end of the day, our responsibility is data should be safe. So why we have two files here? Log file will store the data temporarily, and then it will keep moving the data from log file to data file. Log file will store your data. For example, you are inserting 1 lakh records. All the 1 lakh records, first what I can say, the main thing is like log file. First, all the transactions will go to log file first. Whatever 1 lakh transactions are there, all these 1 lakh transactions, first it will go to log file, and it will be stored in the log file temporarily. Till when? Till this log file is going to send this 1 lakh transactions to the data file. Sir, from where we are going to... Sir. Yes, please. Yeah, entry point. Yeah, you can say it's an entry point. So log file is called an entry point of the database. It's an entry point of the database. Whatever data, from where we are getting the data, from the application. Generally, your database, in the first class we discussed, right, three-tier architecture. Your application will be connected to the database. Now you are doing shopping like that. Now also lakhs of people will do shopping in the Amazon, right, across the globe. So they imagine 10,000 people are buying at this point at 6:02 p.m. or what is the server time, or 7:20 of our time, at 7:20 or 7:30. Imagine across the globe 1 lakh people are purchasing some items. So each person is inserting some records, right? So all this data will goes to Amazon database. So this 1 lakh transactions, first it will go to log file. Once the data is stored in the log file, what log file will do, it cannot store data permanently. Log file will send that data to the data file. Log file will keep sending, keep writing the data to the data file. Why? Because for the safety purpose, log file will store the data only like on temporary basis. It cannot store the data permanently. Sir, directly we can send data to the data file only. Why we are using again log file? Right? So why not we can directly send the data to the data file? Why we have again two files? Why? Because every database software has to follow 4 rules or properties. Every database software has to follow 4 properties, that is called ACID properties. ACID properties. ACID properties. As per the ACID properties, okay, guys, if you don't understand, no issues, okay. Why? Because no one will ask you about these things in the interview as an experienced guy. ACID properties, we don't go deep inside these properties. Atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. So according to these ACID properties, all the transaction means what? I'll tell you what is meant by transaction, guys. Okay, transaction means one record. In simple terms, transaction means one record. Okay, so all the transactions should go inside your particular database. All the transactions, we can call it as a committed. All the transactions should be committed. As per the ACID properties, all the transactions, one of the properties there, we are not going to discuss all the ACID properties now. Not required at this moment, not required. No one will ask you about ACID properties. For freshers, they will ask you. So as per this ACID properties, atomicity, consistency, durability, and isolation, your data, the goal of these properties is your data should be safe, guys. Your data should be consistent. Your data should be durable. Okay, so how can we achieve these ACID properties? Because of the log file. So log file will store the data temporarily until the data is going to be moved to the data file. Log file will store the data temporarily until the data is going to be moved to the data file. Once the data moved to the data file, the data will be saved permanently in the disk. Now even though if someone restarted the server, nothing will happen. Why? Because your data is moved to the disk, right? Until and unless if the disk is corrupted, okay, your data, there is a problem with your data. But if the disk is safe, your data is safe, guys. So imagine you are inserting 1 lakh transactions. Imagine you are inserting 1 lakh transactions. Now 90,000 transactions, 99,000 transactions are inserted, guys. Last 1,000 transactions are pending. Okay, we are pending with 1,000 transactions. So suddenly someone restarted the server. So then what will happen for your 1 lakh transactions? Okay, so I told you, right, first these 1 lakh transactions will go to log file. The 1 lakh transactions will be stored in the log file. Once the data is committed, okay, I'll tell you what is meant by commit and all. Commit means there is a command we will use, commit. Okay,
Already save commit means.
correct. Save commit means in simple terminologies, it's a control S. We'll save,
Yes,
right?
yes.
When we are writing data in the notepad or when we are writing data in the document, what we'll do for every 2 seconds, for every 3 seconds, we'll save, right? Control S will do, right? We'll save the
Yes,
data,
yes.
right? In the same way, commit means it's a kind of a saving the data permanently. So when the commit applies, then the transaction will be moved to the data file permanently. Imagine suddenly someone restarted at 99,000 transactions, suddenly someone restarted my server. So what will happen? Is the data safe? Can I get my all the 1 lakh transactions again? Once the server is back, we have a mechanism called roll back, roll forward, redo, undo. Okay, we have a mechanism called roll back, roll forward, guys. So log file will take care of it. Log file will roll back the uncommitted transactions and it will again, okay, what is that? Roll back, undo. Undo means cancelling. Roll forward means redo. Again it is going to reapply. Redo. Roll back means undo, cancel it, and again it is going to reapply all the 1 lakh transactions as per this ACID properties. So it has to achieve this concept. So that's why we need log file. Imagine if we are sending data directly to the data file. So if we don't have log file, what is that roll back, roll forward concept? If we cannot achieve roll back, roll forward concept, then there is a chance that you might lose your 1 lakh transactions. There is a chance that you might lose your 1 lakh transactions. Now I told you, right, at 7:30 people are doing shopping across the globe, across the world. They are doing shopping. Imagine 1 lakh people are buying some items in the Amazon. All the 1 lakh transactions we are going to lose. So to achieve this, to save the data, so we have two files. One is data file, second one is log file. In the log file, data will be stored temporarily until the data is going to be moved to the data file. The data will be stored in the log file temporarily. Once the data is moved to the data file permanently, whatever data is there in the particular log file, the data will be truncated. Truncate means, okay, deleted. The data will be truncated from the log file. So log file is a reusable file. Log file is a reusable file. If 10 GB data is coming from the application, it will store it in the log file, and then it will slowly commit the data to the data file. Means it will move the 10 GB data to the data file. Once the 10 GB data is completely it's just committed on the data file or completely moved to the data file, the 10 GB space will be truncated. The 10 GB data will be truncated, and again your log file will be reusable for the next transactions. Is it clear, guys? In simple words, log file is a temporary file. It will store the data temporarily. Till when? Till the data is going to be moved to the data file, your log file will store the transactions temporarily. Once the data is completely moved to the data file, the same data will be truncated from the log file. Is it clear? These two are important points.
I have a question.
Yes, yes.
When the user issues a commit, then the log file will understand this needs to be returned to data file.
Correct,
There is
correct.
certain
Yes,
kind of
yes. If the transaction is uncommitted, it won't write to the data file. If the user
so
is
now,
commit,
like after it is being committed, and still we have the data in the log file, and when writing the data from log file to data file, there is a scenario where the server is restarted or something happened to the server. Once the server is back, so how will the log file know that all the data from log file to data file is written and it is completed? Like any other way it will follow, like how we have a commit
see,
from the
see, for example, okay, we have insert statement, insert into table name, something like sales, okay, values.
huh.
This is one transaction. One comes something like, okay, pizza, okay.
Okay.
So and
Okay.
300. So this is a transaction, right? Every
Right.
transaction generally it will start with a begin tran, okay,
Mm.
and it will end with a commit. So
Correct.
every transaction generally, if we are giving, if the user is giving commit, then automatically this will be marked as a committed transaction. So automatically your log file will understand this transaction and it will be moved to the data file permanently, and then the same transaction will be truncated from the log file. So it depends. You are giving a commit at the end of the 10,000 transaction, or at the end of the 1,000 transaction, or at the end of the 1 lakh transaction. Depends upon the users, how users are giving. Sometimes users will wantedly, they will give, they don't want to commit the transactions. I guess you are a developer, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there are some
yeah, yeah.
scenarios that you don't want to commit it, but you want to just insert
Exactly.
the data. You will store the data temporarily, right? So in that case, until you give commit, the transaction will wait in the log file only. Until you give
Okay.
commit, the transaction will wait in the log file only. Still, if someone user restarted or something happened as per the rollback, roll forward concept, the log file will again, it is going to achieve those transactions, whatever uncommitted transactions are there. Whatever committed transactions are there, those will be deleted from the log file. Uncommitted transactions, as per the rollback, roll forward concept, again you can get it back, those transactions and all. So how you will get it in the log file architecture, you will came to know. Okay, if there is a chance,
Okay.
I'll try to explain log file architecture. Again, in the log file, we will get log blocks, VLFs, virtual log files, log blocks, log records and all. So in case if there is a time, I'll try to explain that log file architecture. So mainly the main purpose is like how database will organize the data, so that we are going to discuss. Okay. So
Okay.
as of now,
Yeah.
committed transactions, there is no issue with the committed transactions, right?
No issues. Yeah.
So committed
So like, no,
transactions.
my point was see, log file will understand. Now we are talking about the process writing to the log, but how the log file will conclude saying, okay, these transactions only need to be returned to the data file.
So that's what. See, you will issue commit, right? If you issue commit, automatically it will be returned to the data file. Commit.
Okay.
If you are giving commit command means automatically log file will understand. Okay, this should be committed. See, you just gave transaction like this. Okay,
Mm.
begin tran. You are not giving commit. Now log file will
Mm.
understand this is an uncommitted transaction.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Got it, right? So in this way, generally it will commit. If you just gave begin tran and didn't give commit, user is not committing the transaction. Log file will understand this is an uncommitted transaction. If you give begin tran and commit, log file will understand this is a committed transaction, so this has to be moved to the data file.
Sir, it will happen whenever the checkpoint will run, then only
That
it
will be
be
discussed later. We cannot go deep inside. So
Okay, sir.
when it will be applied, when it will be moved to the data file in the performance tuning, I'll explain why. Because generally when checkpoint runs, what is checkpoint and all, I don't want to discuss at this stage. Later during the performance tuning and all, I'll tell you. So sometimes on every database, every 60 seconds, okay, 60 seconds checkpoint will run. Checkpoint means automatic save point. Okay, automatically it is going to save the data. So what this checkpoint will do, it will keep writing the committed data to the data file. So that is a different mechanism. Same only, but it will, if you go too deep, then you will came to know what is checkpoint and all. So at this,
Okay.
I'm going to stop it here now. Why? Because we cannot go. A lot of non-technical people are there. So we'll discuss it slowly, step by step. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you, sir.
no problem. So guys, is it clear? Two important points. When you create a database, you will get a data file and
File.
Log
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 file.
file.
Log
Log
file.
file is a temporary storage area. Data file is a permanent storage area. Whenever you are inserting a data or transactions, first the transactions will go to
Log file.
Log
log
file.
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 Log file is an entry to the database. It's kind of a main door to our house. Every transaction, it has to go from the log file only. First the transactions will go to log file. If the transaction is committed, means you are decided that this transaction should be saved permanently. Commit means what? Saving the transaction permanently, saving the data permanently. So if you decided, if the user decided to save the data permanently, then the transaction will be committed. So committed means what? Commit means it will save the data from log file to data file, means it will move the data from log file to data file. Once the data is saved, once the data is written to the disk, data file means what? Disk. Your disk, your drive. Once the data is written to the drive, then what is the use of the same transaction in the log file? So the transaction will be deleted from the log file. So the log file will be reusable file. Log file will be reusable file. So that's why sometimes if you see the log file growth will be 100 GB, and sometimes you can see the same log file will be 1 GB also. Why? Why? Because remaining 99 GB data is committed to the data file. So once the data is committed, what is the use of saving 99 GB data in the log file again? So the 99 GB data will be truncated from the log file. Is it clear, guys?
Now, if 100 GB data is there, the total data will be allocated 8 KB. It
No.
difference break down the 8 KB, 8 KB, 8 KB.
See, yes, correct. Whatever point you said is that's correct. See, 8 KB, 8 KB, 8 KB, then up to 100 GB.
Then lot of files, so many
Lot
files.
of, not files. I am not saying files, pages. You have to say it's a page.
Okay.
Lot of
Pages.
pages will be there. If the database size is big, lot of pages will be there. Monica, I'll explain what is truncate. Okay, so I'll explain delete, drop, truncate in the security classes.
Thank you.
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yes, please.
Sir, you told, for example, everything is there in the log file. We can roll back the things and we can do it.
Yes.
For example, when we are writing the data in the log file itself, if that time if we lose a server connection, what will happen?
See, we don't write data in the log file and data file. We don't have that control. We'll write the data on the database. That data will directly go to the log file.
No, for example, if the user is only, for example, giving some data in the, for example, Amazon
in
website.
In the database. Okay.
In between of transaction or in between of entering a data, if we lose a server connection, will the data will be saved?
Yes, it will be saved. Temporarily, it will be saved until you are going to get the connection from the database.
Okay.
That
Okay, sir,
mechanism
thank
is there from the application side. Okay.
Okay.
Why? Because if you are losing connection from the application means data will be stopped. You are just blocking the flow. So once the connection
Means
is established,
till wherever I've provided data, that data will be saved.
will be saved. Yes, nothing will happen. Your
Okay, sir,
data will
thank
be saved. You are just blocking the flow. Once the connection is established, again the flow will go to a data file or log file particularly. Okay.
Okay, sir, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions, guys? So very three important points. One is log file is a temporary storage area. Data file is a permanent storage area. Whatever transactions that you are giving, either you are giving or from application side it is coming. Okay, first the transactions will goes to the log file. Once the transaction is committed, then the transaction will be moved to the data file permanently. Once the transaction is committed on the data file, the same transactions will be truncated. Truncate means delete. Nothing. The simple terminology truncate means deleted from the log file. The same transaction will be deleted from the log file. Okay, clear, guys, everyone?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
can you repeat the last one for me again? Is that when the data is stored in the, when the data is stored in the data file, and what happens to the log file?
See, for example, now you are inserting 100 GB, Krista. Imagine from application side, we are getting 100 GB data. Okay. So once you are inserting 100 GB, depends upon the requirements, depends upon the particular, the user and all. If the 100 GB is committed means we are strongly believing that this data has to go to data file. Okay. So we want to store the data permanently. Okay, we want to store the data permanently. So what developer will do, or what from the application side will get one command called commit command. So once the commit command is issued on the database, whatever committed transactions are there in that particular log file, either it is 10 GB data or 100 GB data, the whole 100 GB data will be moved to the data file. Until this point, you are clear, right?
Right.
Right. So once the data is, say, 100 GB data, you are moved from log file to data file. Now the same 100 GB data you are storing in the log file. So if you don't clear the log file, it cannot welcome the next transactions, right? So we have to give some free space in the log file, right? If there is no, see, you just closed your door and you are asking me to come to your home, how can I come?
You cannot.
Your main door is closed and I am unable to come. Why? Because in the same way, if your log file, if you don't create some free space, the future transactions cannot come inside the log file. Okay, so you have to keep creating some free space in the log file. How can we create free space in the log file? If we commit, or SQL Server will automatically commit. So once the commit happens on the log file, whatever data that is there in the log file, the committed data will be moved to the data file. Once the commit means, data file means what? It is going to return to the disk permanently. Once the data is safe, then what is the use of saving that 100 GB data in the log file? We can delete it, right? That will be done by the SQL Server. Your SQL Server will delete the 100 GB data once it confirms the data is written to the disk permanently. Until the data is not written to the disk, you don't delete. Once the data is written to the disk, the data will be truncated. Truncate means delete, guys. Okay, the data will be deleted from the log file. Clear?
Makes sense. Yes.
Means simple things. See, for example, you are copying 2 GB files. Okay, very important files. Videos are there. Whatever your childhood videos are there, you are copying from your mobile phone to laptop. So you are using 128 GB phone. Okay, so now that phone is full. what you are going to do, you will take a backup. What you will do, you will copy all your photos, videos from your mobile phone to laptop. Once you copied all the files from mobile phone to laptop, what you will do? You will delete the data from your mobile phone, right? Why? Because you
Yes.
have two copies now. One is in your mobile phone, one is in your laptop. So you have already decided that my data is safe in the laptop. What you will do? You will delete the data from your mobile phone so that you can reuse the storage, right? Again from your mobile phone, that 128 GB you can reuse, right? Got the point now?
Okay.
Yes. Fine. Can the log file overloaded? Yes, Syed. Log file can be overloaded. Okay, you have to keep monitoring the log file and all. We'll discuss it. Why? Because suddenly from the application side overnight, imagine sometimes 1 TB data also will come, 1 terabyte of data also will come. In that case, if you don't monitor the log file, see for example, when I am creating a database, I am going to give the paths to the data file and log file. So while giving the paths, if I give one drive, I am going to file means it should be stored in one drive, right? My data file is a file, my log file is a file. So these files should be stored in one drive, right? Imagine I am storing my log file in C drive. So now I am keep inserting data. Till what point the log file can grow? Can you see now? Till what point? Till what size it can grow? I am storing my data file and log file in the C drive. Till what size?
5.70 GB, sir.
Very good. Why? Because I am using C drive to store my log file. How much free space is there in the C drive? 5.77 GB. So the file can increase up to 5.77 GB free space. Once the file is full, once the drive is full, your file will be full. If your file is full, it cannot welcome the new transactions. So yes, this is a small drive. Imagine the organization 1 terabyte of drives will be there. In the same way, 1 terabyte of data also will come. So we have to keep monitoring. That's why this is a regular activity in the organization. Log files will be full. You have to shrink the log files. How to shrink it, we'll discuss. You have to clear some free space in the log file. Shrink means clearing some free space in the log file. Okay, that you have to do manually. Sometimes
Like disk management, am I?
correct, not exactly disk management, file management I can say. Okay, a
Okay,
file
okay.
management. So if you don't see the free space in the drives and all, the drives will be full. If the drive is full, log file will be full. If the log file is full, your database will be down. Why? Because it cannot welcome the new transactions, right? You should have some free space in the log file. Then only your database will be healthy. If there is no free space in the log file, database won't be accessible. Database will go to recovery pending stage. So it's our responsibility to keep monitoring the log files of all the databases. Sir, is it possible to monitor all the databases? We'll create alerts so that in case if the log file is full or going to full, we'll get the alerts. So we'll log into that particular server and we'll check it what is the problem and all. If there is no free space, we'll ask Windows team to extend the drive and all. So in that way we can create some free space, guys. Clear? Data file and log file. At least basic idea what data file will do, what log file will do. Is it clear, guys?
It's clear.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Clear.
yes. Okay, chalo, let's create a database now. Very simple. Okay, how to create a database? In two ways we can create database. One is GUI way, second one is command. Okay, so let's create using GUI first. Right click, new database. Okay, so I am going to give the database name. You can give any name. Now I am giving, okay, I'm giving sales database, or else let me give like a Zomato database. Zomato database. See here, check here clearly. Okay, let me change the name again. See here, two files. Okay, one is data file, second one is log file. So when I am giving name, check here, guys. Okay, when I am giving name here, see the data file and log file, how the names are coming. This is your data file. You can see how to identify this is the data file. You can see the file type is rows data. Rows data means data file. And you can see the file type is, what is the file type? Log file. You can see the file
Log
type
file.
is log file. So this is the log file and you can see underscore log. So I told you, right, in the physical hierarchy here, In the databases, we will have file groups and log files. In the file groups, we will have data files. So data files cannot create it directly. Data file should be created in a file group. So this primary is one file group, default file group that you will get it. See here, log file, there is no concept of file group for log file. Only data file, only data files will be stored in the file groups. So here this file is stored in the primary file group. This is a default file group. When you create any new database, by default SQL Server will create a primary file group. If you want to see, go to file group section. Here you can see the primary file group. Sir, can I add extra file groups? Happily you can add it. Sir, can I add extra files? Happily you can add it. How many extra files I can add? How many extra file groups I can add?
Until the free space of the drive where you're storing.
No.
Okay.
SQL Server supports 32,767. Remember this number. This is very important number, 32,767. 32,767. You can create 32,767 databases in the SQL Server. You can add 32,767 file groups. You can add 32,767 files. You can create 32,767 logins. You can create 32,767 users. This number is a magic number in SQL Server. Now I'll give you one assignment. How SQL Server or how Microsoft decided this 32,767. Okay, you have to tell me. Like we have this one, right? 2 to the power of how much is equal to 32,767. 2 to the power of how much is equal to 32,767. Just normal assignment I am giving. Just normal assignment. Okay, just to make you engage. That's it. 2 to the power of how much is called 32,767. Okay, don't Google it, just calculate and let me know. Chalo, so here when I am creating a database, you can see data file will be existed in the file groups only. Sir, I want to change the file group for the data file. This is your MDF file. See here, you can see the file extension here. I'll show you. So where this by default, where this file is creating, Control C, Windows or Control V, guys. Control V. Control A, Control C, Windows or Control V. I'm just trying to open the path. In this path, as of now, we have these default files. I'll explain. These are the system database files. We will have 4 system databases. You can see here, if you expand system databases, you can see here master, model, MSDB, TempDB. I told you, right? Every database will have 2 files. One is data file, one is log file. See, master data file, master log file. Model data file, model log file will be there. Model log file. Forget about this model MSDB and all. MSDB data file, MSDB log file. TempDB data file, TempDB log file. Okay, for all these 4 databases, 4 to the 8 files will be there. So now I am creating an extra database. So here, once I created a database, here you can see sales.mdf, and how to identify whether it is a data file or log file. You can see here primary data file, transaction log file. Log file or transaction log file, both are same, guys. Okay, so when you create a database, automatically 2 files will be created. One is data file, second one is log file. You can see here, this is my data file. Data files will be stored in a file groups. By default, you will get a file group called primary file group. If you want to add, you can add extra file groups also from file group section. Okay, now initial size, initially you will get it with a 8 MB file. Sir, can I change this initial size? You can change it, no issues. 8 MB is very small, right? So now what SQL Server will do, I told you, right? When you are creating a table, it will allocate 8 KB page. From where? From this 8 MB. Next, you are inserting records in the table, extra 8 KB, extra 8 KB, extra 8 KB. Until this 8 MB is full, it will keep adding the pages. Once this 8 MB is full, then we have an option called auto growth. Auto growth means automatically your file will grow. Automatically your data file will grow. Automatically your log file will grow. If you click on this option, if you don't want to enable auto growth, what will happen, guys? If you see here, enable auto growth is none. Next, what is the next, what I can say? Next challenge we will have, if we set auto growth as none, what will be the challenges?
The data will not be saved
That's
after
it.
that.
Until the 8 MB is full, the data will be stored. Once 8 MB is full, now you are saying, hey, don't grow automatically. That's it. It won't grow. If it won't grow, your database data, you cannot, the log file cannot send the data to the data file. So what happened? Your data file will be full. If your data file is full, database won't be accessible. Database will go to recovery pending state. Got the point? If the data file is full or if the log file is full, generally database will go to recovery pending. Means it is unable to recover. As there is no free space at all, it is unable to recover. So it will go to recovery pending state. So always you have to enable the auto growth, guys. It's very important, very, very important. Why? Because believe me, in the organization, you will manage minimum 500 to 1000 servers, depends upon the project. I am managing 7000 servers. In each server, imagine 10 databases. Imagine, worst case 10 databases are there. 7000 into 10, how many databases? 7000 into 10. I hope you know the calculations, right? Mathematics.
Yeah, 70K.
70,000. 70,000 databases I am managing. 70,000 databases into 2. Each database will have 2 files, right? 70,000, 1,40,000 files. will be-
1,40,000.
I have to manage 1,40,000 files. Can I check 1,40,000 files? What is the free space and all in each file? Is it possible to manage manually? No,
It's impossible, sir.
it's impossible, right? So what I'll do, I'll set up auto growth. I cannot keep on adding spaces every time if it is full. Okay, so I'll set up auto growth. Automatically it will grow up to what level? In which drive you are storing the files? In C drive. In C drive, how much free space is there? Up to the free space, it is going to grow automatically. Clear? If this drive is full, you have to contact Windows team. You have to ask them to extend the drive for data files. For log files, you have to shrink it to make the space reusable. Clear, guys? Is it clear? So auto growth is very important option. You have to enable the auto growth. If you don't enable the auto growth, what will happen? Your data file will be full at one point and you cannot, and the database can't grow automatically. So your data won't be saved. So database won't be accessible. So auto growth, how you want to auto grow the files? In percentage? Chalo, you gave 10%. So what will be the next? Once this 8 MB is full, what will be the new file size? 10%. It will increase 10% of 8 MB. What will be the new file size? I'll ask you, just you have to tell me quickly, what is 10% of 29?
2.9.
2.9.
What is 15% of 30? Quickly.
0.2.
No, 15. 15% of 30.
0.3, sir.
Quickly.
0.3.
No, 30. What is the 15% of 30? Quickly you have to tell me.
4.5.
4.5. Okay. 10%. Always you have to do one thing, guys. Always make it as a 10% first. 10% of 30, 3 MB. Okay, 3 MB. Remaining 5%. 10% 33 MB means 5% means how much? Half. 1.5. So 3 plus 1.5, 4.5.
4.5.
What is 2% of 61? 2% of 61. 2% of 61. Quickly.
1.22.
0.61, 0.61. Okay. 112, 6, 6, 12. 1.22. Okay. You have to calculate in that fast, guys. Okay. So 10% not required. Actually, I'm just saying. Okay. So 10% of 8 MB means 0.8 MB. So your new value will be 8.8 MB. Sir, I'm going to give 1000 MB directly. Okay. So what is the new file size? Can anyone tell me? Now the file is going to grow in megabytes. Directly in megabytes will be added. So 8 MB is full. What will be the new file size? 1000 MB will be added, right?
1008.
The next second 1000 MB will be added. So 1000 MB plus 8, 1008 MB.
1008.
Okay, so in the organization generally will keep in percentage, will give, okay, 20 percentage or 30 percentage. Generally in the organization will, some organization depends upon the requirements, they will directly give 1024, 1 GB they will add. Okay, 1024 MB means 1 GB. Once this 8 MB is full, they will add 1024 MB. 1 GB, 1 GB, 1 GB. Okay, fine. So limited, you can see here maximum till what point you can increase, maximum till what point it can grow. This is called maximum file size. If you limit it, so I want to limit my file size to 10 GB, 10,240 MB. Okay, so now what will happen? Up to 10 GB it will grow, guys. After that you limited the file, right? After that it cannot grow. So you cannot limit it. It should be unlimited. Unlimited means what? How much free space is there in the drive? It is going to use all the free space. Clear? Guys, very simple. I am just telling you very basic mathematics, very basic settings. Nothing here as I am explaining from very basic level. So you might get confused, but it's very simple. Okay. Yes, yes, please. Any questions? Guys, is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir. Fine.
Clear.
Done. Okay, so I'm going to give 20% unlimited. In the same way, log file also by 64 MB unlimited, it should be same. Now, where you want to save these files? You want to save it in C drive, keep it as it is. No, I want to save the data file in OneDrive. Can I save data file in OneDrive and log file in another drive? Can I store like that, or both should be in the same drive? Guess it, guys. No
No,
problem.
sir.
Pinky Pinky Ponky will work. No problem.
But we have an
No,
option.
sir.
I have to keep both the files in same drive. Right?
No, sir. It's not best practice.
It's not
Need
best
not
practice.
be like.
Need not be. Okay. Okay, guys. The answer is,
As a best practice, we have to.
so we have to keep it in same drive,
Yes, yes.
We can
separate drives.
On a different drive.
separate drive.
Different drives. So we have to change the drives, guys. Generally, in the organization, now this is the time where we have to discuss about the drives. In the organization, we'll have separate drives. Okay, separate drives. For data files, all the database data files will be stored in a one drive. All the database log files will be stored in another drive. TempDB data files and log files will be stored in another drive. Backup files will be stored in another drive. Total 4 to 5 drives will be there. It's not recommended practice keeping the data files and log files in a same drive, but it is possible. I am saying it is possible, but it's not a best practice. It's not a recommended practice. Why? Because log files will full very quickly. Okay, they are going to grow very quickly. Depends on the transactions. The log files are growing. If it is also eating same D drive, same C drive, then data files can't grow, right? So there is a problem with the database, right? So generally we don't keep all the files in the same drive. Data files will be separated, log files will be separated, TempDB files will be separated, and backup files will be separated to make sure we are not keep on getting the disk space issues and all. Okay, it's a maintenance strategy. You have to keep all the files in separate drives, all the database data files. Now imagine I have 100 database. All the 100 database data files will be stored in the data drive. All the 100 database log files will be stored in a log drive. All the 100 databases backups will be stored in a backup drive, and that particular SQL Server TempDB will be stored in a separate drive. So this is how we'll manage the files, guys. So you can keep it in the same drive, but it's not a recommended practice. So in the organization, we'll save the data files in a separate drive. You can change the path from here. Okay, and log files we are going to store it in a separate drive. So this is how we are going to organize. So file name as of now you cannot see. Okay, so when I click OK, automatically file names you will get it. Zomato, this is logical names. You can see here logical names which will be stored in the master database using these names. This is physical names which will be stored in the files. Like now you can see, right, master.mdf like this. These are physical files. If you see this extension properties, the file extension will be .mdf. See here .mdf, and for log file the file extension will be .ldf. You can see here dot ldf. You can see dot ldf for log file, dot mdf for data file. Okay, clear guys? Chalo. So this is called physical files. This is how you, physical file means you can see with your naked eyes and all. Logical file means this is how generally it will store in the master database. I'll tell you what is meant by master database. Now it is blank only, don't give it. Just click OK, automatically the files will be created. So here you have to concentrate on another thing called database owner. Database owner. So it is showing as default. Default means what? Who will become the owner of the database? One person should be, guys, every object should have owner. Databases will have database owners. Logins, jobs will have job owners. Okay, jobs will have job owners, databases will have database owners. So now if I don't give any owner, can you guess who will be the owner of the database, this Zomato database?
The instance.
Admin.
Admin.
Admin, sir.
So
Admin.
now you can see here, right, who connected? What is the account you used to connect? Administrator.
Administrator.
If Imtiaz connected to the server, Imtiaz is creating a new database. If Imtiaz is not changing the database owner, DB owner will be Imtiaz. If Swati is creating a new database by logging into the Swati account, here you can see the login name as Swati. So now if Swati is creating a new database, if Swati is not changing the database name, the owner will be, default means the owner will be those who are creating the database, he will be the owners. But is it a good practice? Swati got a good opportunity, she left the organization, Swati account will be deleted. Now if the Swati account is deleted, the database won't be accessible properly. You will get some challenges. So it's not a best practice. So we will give a permanent login. Who will be the permanent login in the SQL server? SA.
Yes, sir.
SA is the permanent login in the SQL server. I'll explain in the security. So generally, we'll give permanent logins as the owners here. I'll show you how to change the owner later. I'm going to create it okay now. I'm going to create the database now. Later I'll show you how to change the database owner. You should know, right? Now if I give SA, it will be SA now. Now if I don't give SA now, I'll click OK. So you can see different database owner. Later I'll show you how to change the database owner. Okay, fine. So these are the options. We don't change these options. Okay, not required. No need to change any options. Collation settings, default server settings, it will take recovery model. We have a separate class on recovery model, full recovery, bulk log recovery, simple recovery model. And compatibility level, we have already discussed. The database that belongs to 2022 will have a 160 compatibility level. Containment type is a separate feature. Okay, I'll tell you the containment type and all. So these are some extra features which will be enabled or disabled on the particular database. Okay, so these will be discussed slowly, depends upon the requirements. I am going to discuss some of the options. File groups we have already discussed. If you want to add extra file group, click on add extra file. Later while creating another database, I'll show you by adding the extra files and all. So now if I click OK, it will create a database. But how it will create a database, guys? SQL Server don't know GUI, right? How it will create a database now? SQL Server don't know GUI. I don't know what is the command to create a database. For that purpose, this interface is helping me. Now SQL Server don't know GUI. How it will create a database now?
Backend it will develop a query, sir.
Backup.
When I click OK, one query will be generated and that query will run. If you want to see that query, click on the script. So this script will run when I click OK. See here, how many values will be there in the script. Okay, now it is loading. See here. See how much type. See, create, the command is create database name Zomato, and whatever we have selected, disabled or enabled. See how much big query is there. If I ask you to create a database using query, you have to write all these values. Is it possible to remember this much big script? Can you remember this much big script?
No, sir.
No, right? So that's why GUI will help us to do that. Okay, if you click OK, automatically new database will be created. Done. Created. See here, you can see the new database, Zomato. You can expand this database. You can see database diagram. There are some different objects, guys. A lot of extra objects are added in 2022. We are not going to discuss all these things. As a DBA, we'll discuss only few things. Tables. Okay, so for programmers and all, generally they need views, programmability, stored procedures and all. Generally your stored procedures and all will be stored in the programmability. So security also will be discussed. Storage is added recently in 2022 only it was added. Service broker also added recently. Query store we don't discuss. So whatever not required I don't discuss. Okay, why? Because I don't want to confuse you. As a DBA, whatever required I am going to discuss. Some of the options will be used by developers, so for them they are going to use those options. For us we will use some of the options, so that DBA options and all I am going to discuss it, guys. Okay, so this is how we'll create a database. So what is the command to create a database? I want to create a database using command, guys. Can anyone tell me the command?
Yes, sir.
Create database name.
Create database
Database name.
name.
So this time I'm going to create Swiggy. So now, sir, you just said you have to write the whole script to create a database, right? So, but now you are saying only 3 words: create database, database name, and click execute. This is the execute button to execute any query, or you can use keyboard shortcut Alt plus X, Alt key plus X, keyboard shortcut to execute query, or F5, F5 to execute any query. So I am going to like use Alt X, guys. Okay, Alt X is simple for me. So or else click on execute button. Okay, I am going to click on execute button, guys. Then
Command.
database is created. Sir, you said this much big script, but you just gave only 3 words to create a database. Is it really created a database? I cannot see. Where is that Swiggy database? Where is the Swiggy database?
Refresh.
Whatever you do in the server, you have to refresh. See, Swiggy is created. Now you want to change the owner. Now, if you want to change the owner of the database, go to the properties of the database. There, go to the files. Okay, there you can see that option. Wait a minute, it was disconnected. Server was disconnected. So there you can see owner, database owner. If you don't change the database owner, generally those who created the database, he will be the owner of the database. Okay, so now we have to change the owner of the database. Okay, just a minute. Once it was loaded, then we'll discuss. Right, so now how to change the owner of the database? Go to the properties of the database, go to file space. There you can see database owner. See who created the database, he will become the owner of the database. This person created the database, so the owner is SCA. This person, I want to change it to SCA, just change it to SCA and click OK. In this way you can change the database owner, guys. Okay, the database owner is change it to SCA. Can I change it to Suresh? Can I change the owner to Suresh or Ramesh or Swati? Is it possible at this moment?
No.
Why?
Impossible.
In
Why?
account, right?
Very good. Your account is not created. Swati, because it doesn't exist or you do not have permissions. Okay, so SA is existed. That's why I'm able to create. I'm able to change the database owner to SCA. Fine. Clear, guys? Any questions how to create a database? Is it clear? So if you are clear, we'll take a break, come back at after 15 minutes, 8:35. So we'll discuss how to create a table. Now the database is ready, right? So I'll show you how to create a table using GUI and using command also. Okay?
Sir, I have one doubt.
Yes, please.
We have given only create the database and database
Very
name.
good. I have to.
So other features will take defaultly, right?
I have to discuss this one. Okay, whatever
Okay,
points,
sir.
whatever parameters, we'll call it as a parameters. Okay, this will be given by your SQL Server database engine by default.
Okay, sir.
So simply you are just giving this word single line only, create database name. But don't think only this line is executing by database engine. Who is executing the query? Your database engine. So SQL Server will add extra parameters to this command and it will execute the whole script. Like this only it will execute. But you don't see, you are not giving, right? SQL Server will give those parameters. The default values will be given by your SQL Server and finally it will execute that script. Don't think when I click execute only these 3 words are executing. No, SQL Server is adding some parameters to these 3 words and then it is executing and then finally it is creating the database.
Okay, sir.
Done. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, chalo guys, we'll be back after 15 minutes and we'll discuss.